Okay, thank you all very much. It is an IT technology discussion, and I've been very privileged and quite humbled, actually, to meet each and every one of you on a number of occasions. And what I always find enthralling is how these industry leaders have used technology to really drive an incredible customer and guest experience. And I hope you find that today based on our questions as well. Arya, we'll start with you. Do you mind sharing with us the vision for growth when it comes to Clark's and how technology plays a role in that expansion and growth in the market?
So I think when it comes to technology, to be very honest, we have a long way to go. We've solved for many of the spaces where, with regards to reputation management, CRM, CRS, the PMS. But to be honest, if I have to look at it from a corporate point of view, it's all fragmented. Like I need to open like 5 different dashboards to get my answer. It takes me like an hour every day in the morning. So, you know, being an Indian domestic, small family-run business without any stakeholders, I mean, the decision makers are literally in this room. We're like 2 of us, 3 of us, right? So we don't have, let's say, the capital that, let's say, the large giants have to spend on R&D or to spend on just experimenting. Plus, even the hotel owners that we have, you know, for us to make a technology change, it will cost them a lot of money. So of course, technology is the most important way forward for us, and we're trying to find ways for us to have a more consolidated format. Yeah.
So pretty much you need to be making the right decisions, and you rely on your partners, your technical partners, to do that, which is very impressive. Question for Tej. We talk about what we call buckets or the petitioning of the business. And I guess my question is, you're quite a large company. How do you actually group the digital transformation journey in terms of buckets within Lemon Tree?
Sure. I think the first thing that we've realized, and that's what we want to implement, is that digital transformation is not about technology only, right? Digital transformation is about deciding on your digital strategy and also organizational change, right? So it's a continuous process. It's about being able to transform a company to thrive in the digital age, right? So in terms of the buckets, the different buckets, right? One is obviously the large technology piece that we are implementing when we are upgrading our entire tech stack, right? And for that, obviously, we are bucketing it into the multiple layers, right? So there could be a smart business application layer, right? There could be the data platform, which is ensuring that you're cloud first, right? So there are multiple buckets like that. There could be a smart business layer, the data platform, the customer applications, right? So essentially, we're trying to build a model where you have the front-end applications, you have the back-end platform, which is your hardware and data platform. And how do you embed basically artificial intelligence or AI applications in between those 2 layers, right? Potentially also there are 4 or 5 other buckets that we're looking at. So whether it's basically customers, competition, data, which I spoke about, right? Innovation, and how do you drive value?
Excellent, thank you. Ashkay, how do you think technology is helping large hotel companies garnering more revenue traction?
Talking about hotel companies, I'll actually start with an example of our own company. From a revenue standpoint, how technology was enabled and combined with it. We have a very different approach in terms of technology in our organization. We don't look at technology only as an opportunity to make sure that customers should be able to engage more efficiently, but also from the brand's perspective to how to reach out to the customer in more efficient manner, as well as lead to conversion as well as the yield. I'll take you a couple of years back in quick fashion. We were in a boardroom and we were discussing what do we do in terms of bringing in more money on the table. And we were thinking that how do a customer actually reach out to Sarovar Hotels? There were very few buckets that came into our mind, and we thought, how can we plug an opportunity of a technology in each of these spaces? And most of these buckets would not be very unique to Sarovar. It will be pretty much unique to everybody in the hotel industry. So first was obviously a customer reaches out to a hotel or to a Sarovar for that matter through phone. They telephonically pick up their phone and they reach out to a hotel. But what we were observing for data trends over a period of time, that not more than 25 to 28% of the customer calls were getting responded on time. We thought, what can we use in technology? Let's not talk about technology which is beyond our even understanding. Let's talk about simple things. How can we make sure that the customer reaching out to us is actually getting answered well in time? So we partnered with an agency. We outsourced that particular task, and we proudly say that that particular agency works on a gig force mechanism. So we were able to create a model based on IVRS and cloud telephony, where each and every customer, be it wherever they are. So for example, if you're sitting right now somewhere in Madurai, and you call upon the central reservation number of Sarovar, it's not somebody in Delhi who's going to pick up the phone. The call will be picked up by somebody sitting right over in Chennai who also happens to have the capability of the language Tamil. Now, the conversation and the conversion always happens hands to hand. We were able to plug this very successfully into our system. And today, our call pickup ratio has moved from that 28% that I just mentioned to 97% in just a year's time. And in the hindsight, we were also able to generate a lot more consumer insight and data that where are customers reaching out to Sarovar from. Secondly, we realized that a customer reaches out to hotels from the retail perspective, which is obviously B2B, largely in our world called as OTAs. We thankfully had our partners and our principals, Louvre Hotels, who had the capability of bringing in the state-of-the-art distribution system into Sarovar's ecosystem. And that helped us to connect with each and every partner from the right geography. So today, Sarovar is directly connected in its PMS to the world's biggest OTA of America, to the world's biggest OTA of Europe, to the world's biggest OTA of probably China, biggest OTA of APAC, and also the biggest OTA of India. So that way, we were able to take care of that part of the business. And in the hindsight, we also ensured that GDS, as a dragon which sat as an aspiration for companies like us, which was only at about 31% penetration of our entire company, today is sitting at about 100%. And from a revenue management point of view, the question that you asked me, today 35% of the business that we generate on GDS is actually coming on non-qualified basis, which means there are customers who may not have an RFP with me today, but are also willing to do business with Sarovar Hotels through these channels. So pretty much usage of technology, putting up into the need front, and as well as converting into a commercial win was our strategy overall. Thank you.
Brilliant, brilliant. Karaman, Olive Living, I've actually had the enthralling experience of visiting your head office and actually witnessing the use of technology. So do you mind sharing with us how you go about using latest technology like AI, for example, to deliver that experience, but also to drive down the operational cost of the business?
Sure. So, I mean, we operate a portfolio of smaller hotels. So most of our hotels are in the city center, and average key count is about 40. So, and we operate in the budget segment, so we don't have the ARRs like the big boys do. So with that said, we operate with very limited resources, and we launched the business just before the pandemic. And after the first wave, we positioned our buildings as long stay, so that means even lower ARRs, so that even pushed us in different ways. And in order to establish a profitable business in that environment, we had to look at technology. And video conferencing became part of our lives the moment we got locked in our houses. And I saw that people were using the technology to educate students. So we said, if people can educate people through the video conferencing, I think we can probably check in guests through the same technology. So we first added a 27-screen device in our receptions, and we centralized our receptions in our headquarter office. This is applicable more for the smaller hotels, I guess. And on the operations side, we adopted AI-enabled audio-video analytics. So, when you build a tech stack like this, what happens is you're able to migrate the front office and the mid-level management's responsibilities to a central system. And, that allowed us to squeeze out the inefficiencies that comes with that. So, I mean, when you're operating, let's say, a 40-key hotel, at night you might have 1 or 2 check-ins, and you might be waiting for a guest who might never come. So we thought that's quite inefficient. So, the video conferencing part of it went viral the other week. One of our guests took a picture and, posted online, and, it just, became public news. Even though we've been using the technology for a long time, that's only when it kind of came out. But what we are seeing is, hospitality is about empathy, the human connection, and, no matter how much we automate, we never kind of want to let go of that. I mean, in the pandemic, a lot of us put off plexi screens in front of the reception, to stop any germs passing by. So whether it's behind a plexiglass or behind the screen, we see that, we are able to deliver that human connection, even though it's, remotely managed, someone is sitting miles away at a central location. So, I mean, what happened is now we've been able to drive down our manpower ratio to really efficient levels. We've been able to increase the level of hospitality that we provide. And, you're able to keep a live pulse of every check-in, every check-out, every interaction that you have with the guest. So, usually when the review is left on an OTA or, one of the online platforms, that is end of the service, and usually we react to that, and that is damage control. So I think, the tech stack that we are using is enabling us to intercept in the customer journey, before we reach that level. So, I think we've been able to increase the customer satisfaction, and also we've been able to, I think, improve the employee satisfaction as well. I mean, I think our staff who are sitting at the remote reception, one, they're active, they feel that they're, really putting their time to use. They don't really have too much downtime. And, a lot of, I mean, there's other views that, automation is replacing jobs. Actually, the World Economic Forum that state that in 2025, AI and automation is going to create 97 million more jobs. So actually, reskilling and upskilling the existing stuff that you have to another level, I think, is creating more opportunities. So, I mean, I think, that's probably the efficiencies in a nutshell for us.
Thanks, Karaman. Ani, quite new to the industry and very entrepreneurial. A very similar question around AI technology and machine learning technology. So how are both those types of technologies driving down the acquisition costs for hoteliers?
Oh, yeah. So I think fundamentally what AI helps you do is do a lot of things quickly. So let's say you're a hotel and you have multiple types of guests. You have multiple facets of your hotel which are very interesting. So you could have a microbrewery which you want to showcase to people who like beer. Karaman probably likes a mobile check-in experience, so his ad would say, hey, we have a mobile check-in experience. So showing your right USP of your hotel to the right audience is something AI can do very easily because it can generate content for you. It can find what are the USPs of your hotel through the guest patterns on your PMS. So I think in terms of marketing, it's a big game changer if you're able to marry a hotel's primary data, guest data, to the USPs that they have, and then really get a better ROAS on your ads. So that's one. And I think second, which we have really seen of value, is having a sales concierge. So it could be a chat and a call bot, which can answer basic queries. I think it's clear AI might not be able to answer everything, but it can answer maybe 60-70% of those questions. It can answer them instantly, which I think if you're on a website today, and there are a lot of websites where they'll say, please wait while we connect you to an agent. That's a drop-off moment. But with AI models today, you're just literally feeding in data, and you could have a bot which will answer that question instantly. So these are two massive use cases, at least for a hotel, to drive down acquisition, because you're getting better quality traffic through marketing, and you're improving your conversion rates by having a bot to answer queries that a guest can have.
Brilliant. I'm smiling because my next question is to Vivek. On paper, I actually manage Vivek, but I'm actually quite humbled working with him because I view him as my peer, and in many cases in this industry as my senior. So Vivek, I've got a question. When we talk about RMS and the vision for RMS, where do you see RMS expanding within the region here in India? And more importantly, where do you see the current technology taking the industry going forward?
Thank you.
Anthony, to start this way, and I'd like to thank BW Hotelier, Khannaji, and you to have me on the panel. Just coming back to what our strategy for the region is, it's very simple. We want to reach about 150,000 to 200,000 keys by 2027. That's a very clear vision as far as the top line is concerned. But also we kind of want to understand how the Indian homegrown brands work. Nothing that we're against somebody outside India, but within India we control to a large extent what is happening. For example, if I can go back to what Aryavir was asking and what Tej was asking, is to kind of get the data under one umbrella, which becomes very difficult for technology companies to compile. Now, what we want to do ideally in the next couple of years is to get all this data together and enable somebody like Anirudh or BotSpice that we work with, which has got brilliant data analytics to sit on top of it. So we should be an enabler, but also we stand with what you said yesterday very well, Anthony, that values, tradition, and culture, that I think is both with RMS and Indian market, and that's the reason why we're really wanting to focus on the Indian homegrown brands.
Arya, back to you if you don't mind. I don't like to use the word obstacles or issues, but what are the two areas of potential concern when it comes to technology allowing you to grow?
So I think for me it's very easy to answer that, because number one would be distribution. So although majority of our sales do come from offline channels, maybe 60% or upwards of 60%, but the quantum of business that we do from our own website is much smaller than comparing to a giant like a Marriott or so that's a big problem. I believe that if we solve a solution, if we solve via a solution of distribution, via collaboration, maybe with an international brand, taking one of their soft brands or an Indian brand, that will solve a major part of that problem. It could be in form of loyalty, it could be in form of better commission rates with online travel agencies. So that's one problem. And the second is talent, obviously. Being a mid-market player, of course, have some hotels in the luxury space as well. How do you convince a college student or a person wanting to be in hotels to also consider the mid-market space as their choice? Because the thing is that everybody wants to go to luxury, right? Because that's where the opulence of hospitality comes from. So how do you also get somebody to have that same desire to come to the mid-market space? So I think that is another challenge. So distribution and talent would be the two challenges that I have.
Now, I know you said you're a lot smaller compared to the bigger players, but I think it allows you to be incredibly fleet-footed. And if there's one thing I've learned about the business and how you're managing it, your acquisition strategy across multiple brands is really exceptional. So hats off to you for that. Tej, how do you think technology can leverage Lemon Tree Group in creating value for all the key stakeholders, both externally but also internally within the business?
Yeah, so I think there is, if you plot basically your AI intent or AI adoption intent and you plot your depth of proprietary data, right? Where those two converge, that's like a sweet spot. So if you have high AI intent and you have depth of proprietary data, that can have a positive impact on your EBITDA. But so how are we kind of trying to leverage it? So let me just make it real with some examples, right? I think we spoke about, I think Akshay spoke about an RMS solution, right? Within an RMS solution, there are two essential bits, right? There is the middle part, which is the engine, which actually does the optimization bit. But prior to that, there is the rate ingestion, right? So you tie up with some partner where you ingest the rates, right? And most of us actually go blind in the sense that we just trust the partner to be able to scrape the rates and send it to us at a particular frequency, right? But what we've managed to do is that we build a dashboard where we actually track the frequency of the scrapes, right? Whether our database, because we have a direct transfer into our database, so we are able to track whether our database received that rate scrape at that particular time as per the desired frequency. And we are also now working on being able to understand whether the rate was delivered correctly, in the sense that the veracity of that information which is flowing into our database. So we're trying to build a model to understand whether that scrape was an actual scrape irrespective of the fact, or whether there was just a rate which was pushed to us, right? So if the rate doesn't change for a particular period, you can actually train a model to understand whether that's an expected rate of no change in the rate, or there is some deviation which somebody needs to look at. The other example is in terms of our positioning, right? So when you adopt a market positioning, right, most of the RMSs actually do it on the basis of a benchmark rate, and there is a particular formula or a ratio on the basis of which you adopt your positioning. But we are working on models to understand their upper bound and lower bound in terms of the price movement in the market, right? And we are also trying to build a machine learning model to understand, given a particular demand context, right, did that particular positioning deliver a positive outcome for us or not? And with that, we've also implemented continuous pricing. So we are experimenting actually in various multiples of a rate change and trying to track the booking velocity to understand whether that had a positive impact in terms of a booking velocity or a negative impact in terms of a booking velocity. I think with AI also, if I can take reference of a framework called the Next framework, right? So that is what will unlock more value for all of us, right? So Next essentially just stands for new business opportunities, right? External productivity, efficiency, which a lot of us spoke about, right? And then there is, a technological change, so you can bring in more technology and content, right? So that's the framework essentially which we are trying to adopt to ensure that we are able to deliver value for internal and external stakeholders.
Brilliant, great answer, very good answer. Ashkay, what do you see as the key challenges for hotels to adopt new technology going forward? And how do you think the technology companies can actually work to overcome them?
Well, to sum up in one line, it will be economy of scale. Whatever technology that you're adopting, how are you able to scale it up in a manner that the cost of acquiring or cost of running the technology is being brought down? But however, we at Sarovar would look at it from a different perspective. We look at it from an opportunity perspective, not as a challenge. And this opportunity I would actually break in three parts, to be very simple. When I say technology adoption at the hotels, I think the part one would be technology where guests can feel that technology, can touch that technology. Typically the world of robots that we are talking of, those kind of technologies, or mobile check-in or digital check-ins, that's one type of a technology that I am thinking of. I'm just trying to bucket the technology at this point of time. The second technology would be where a guest cannot see or feel that technology, but it is being adopted by an organization at the back end, which means, more smarter technologies in the space of HR, more smarter technologies in the space of finance, and few other housekeeping, where you can create much more operational efficiencies, save cost, and earn money, and then use that money back into the real products which can make the customer experience much more happier. So that's second type of technological investment I think in usual as an opportunity. And third opportunity that I see is technology where guests can see, but it's actually happening at the back end, which is where a customer, like I just spoke in a short while ago as well, customer is actually looking at your hotel, often through your brand website, through your through various retail opportunities, through OTAs, he's reading content about you, he's looking at the pricing, everything. But all of that technology in a much more consolidated and a much more efficient manner is getting managed at the back end, which often is usually kind of taken care of by a much more sophisticated CRS systems. So to actually look at the point that you just mentioned in terms of challenge, and I said opportunities, I think the world of hotels is today too much focused on adopting that technology from point 1, 2 to 3. Whereas at Sarovar, we would look at from 3, 2 to 1, which means focus on technologies which can enhance and make customer experience better, but probably is invested somewhere at the back end so that it is also yielding you more income. Number one, there are no free lunches. You have to earn before you actually start investing into technology. And then point two, where I mentioned bring up opportunities of investing into technology at your pure backend. At Sarovar, we have just recently invested into a fine HRMS system. We have actually made an investment into our financial technologies last year. And the third would be if you really start bringing up upper income through step 3 and bringing your cost down through step 2, and then you can talk about making real investments into hardcore technologies which a customer can feel. Otherwise, it's not going to be sustainable. We all know there are a lot of opportunities like digital cards and mobile check-ins being brought in, but let's keep hands on our heart. It comes up, it goes to the social media, but dies out very soon. So I think 3, 2, 1 is what the opportunity would be, not 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Another very insightful answer, which is why we're very lucky to have all these guys at the table. Karaman, again, what do you see as the biggest advantage for hotel owners actually moving to the latest technology? So what is the biggest advantage for hotel owners actually adopting and moving towards the latest technology?
Yeah, I mean, I think efficiency results in a better bottom line. I think that is probably the biggest incentive. And, you know, the thing is, you can adapt technologies, and, you know, we're seeing that there's a lot of overlap as well. So I think, you know, technology is not, how do you say, feasible in every area. And we have a lot of new tools that are coming every day. And, you know, we feel that it's quite actually fragmented. So, but if the right tools are selected, you know, the way, the amount of efficiency that you can create is so high that, you know, you'll be able to deliver a great return on real estate. You're able to increase the customer satisfaction. And, you know, I think, you know, as an end result, you know, it has a huge upside. And today, with age of AI, I think, you know, the speed of advancement has accelerated so much that I think, you know, we just have to keep reinventing and adapting ourselves. Obviously, you know, hospitality, the underlying asset is real estate. We know that's not going to change. And, you know, the hospitality is about the human connection. So, you know, we don't want to let go of that either. But we feel that just like in the Industrial Revolution, when we adapted the machines, you know, it replaced physical labor. I think in the coming months that we are seeing that AI is going to replace the white, it's going to basically help automate and increase the efficiencies on the white-collar jobs. So it's going to allow us to, I think, you know, focus on better things and, you know, improve the service level, and as a result, you know, improve the industry.
So it'll drive the efficiency, but what you're describing is a different kind of intimacy vehicle between the hotel and the guest.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Ani, what are the latest innovations in technology you think that hoteliers could actually utilize going forward? Because you're a very switched on guy. I know you're incredibly bright. So what's your view on that?
Yeah, I mean, one is, I think, personalization, which we spoke about. Second, I think, is just, can you give a guest a wow moment, right? So like the airline industry, you choose your seat. It's a 3-hour flight, but you choose the seat. You stay in a hotel room for 8 to 12 hours minimum. But if you could let our guests choose their room, have a mobile check-in where they just walk into their room, I think given how Gen Z and millennials are so much on social media, they're quite introverted. They would love that moment where I can choose my room, I just go in. Also, as a guest, it's a feeling of this hotel lets me choose my room. So that's something I find very interesting. Third, I think, is whatever you can do in terms of, say, revenue management, which already was spoken about, and also just in your in-room experience, right? So can you have upselling happening in your room just to increase your total revenue per user or per guest? And I think these broadly cover where I see AI and tech coming in today to enhance the hospitality industry.
Perfect timing. Vivek, you have the last question. If you were a hotelier and you had a magic wand, you'd probably use it to turn me into a frog. What is the one thing you'd want to change overnight for the industry?
Apart from the buzzer going? Yeah. look, I've observed two sort of issues, if I may put that way, is one, procrastination. Procrastination otherwise is good. We get time to negotiate. But in technology, technology is like liquid, it moves on. If you don't catch on to the right technology at the right time, I think it just pushes back. So one thing is procrastination that I look at, and the second thing is decomplexing tech stacks. I've seen, and I understand that there's a very fine line between complications and complexities. Now, while we are entangled in the complications, to decomplex becomes really, really difficult. And that's where I think technology needs to be used. For example, if I may put it, I would want all the hoteliers, at least the leadership, to see how many room service orders are still pending at the real time, and what can they be done to decrease the time to that. To that level is something that I'd want to look at, but I think use of technology in a couple of years should be there, and it should enable you to do that. So these two things, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, look, thank you guys. That's the end of the session. Yeah, we certainly appreciate your time. And I've got all these little gems that I'll take back with me back to our product team. So thank you very much.